Yeah, what's up? What's going on, everybody? It's Super Dave back at it with the PA Political Revolution podcast. Back at it again, and we have a special guest today. A gentleman by the name of Mr. Joseph Guillory. Mr. Joseph Guillory is going to be running for the Justice of the Peace, Precinct 2. And Mr. Guillory, can you go ahead and give us an introduction about yourself for the people that's not familiar with you or kind of been living under a rock lately, brother?
Hey, thank you, Dave, for this opportunity
Yes, sir.
to share with the people. I'm Joseph Guillory, and I'm running for Justice of the Peace Precinct 2 here in Port Arthur. I'm a native Port Arthurian, graduated from Lincoln High School in 1986. This has been my home. It's always been my home. Um, Everything about me says Port Arthur. All the passion that I have is because of what Port Arthur gave me. Um, I'm currently serving my second term on the school board. I've served on the EDC board. I'm a former deputy sheriff. I got over 25 years of professional business experience. So I feel confident, David, that I made the right choice in this election as well as one previous that we ran, and it was a blessing then. And I know that this election is going to also be a blessing to the people and the citizens here of Port Arthur.
Okay. And can you tell us what was the motivation? What was the why factor or the it factor that made Joseph Guillory say, "Hey, I want to go ahead and run for the JP"? Can you tell us a little bit about that process?
David, how much time do we have?
Hey, we have as much time as you want, brother. As much time as you want.
Well, look, in the last election, there's nothing much different in the last election because the same issues that we had then, they're greater now because of a conversation that was held not too long ago when Constable Collins retired. And there was talk about possibly not even filling his position as an interim, which I thought that would be ludicrous because we cannot afford to lose any representation here in Port Arthur.
Okay, hold on for a second. Let's go ahead and come back because you didn't jump right on in it. Okay, you didn't jump right on in it.
So, ask me why. I got to tell the people why.
Absolutely.
They need to know.
Absolutely. So you're talking about Constable Eddie Collins, right? Constable Eddie Collins, when he had retired his position, you're saying that the county judge, or you said, or the commissioner, the county judge was the one that was having conversation.
Attention about a conversation that he was having, or maybe the commissioner's court or whoever were having with the county judge, and it's scary to think that the end game is to, how would I say, take representation from the citizens of Port Arthur. I was sitting back thinking about how nice it was when we were kids and growing up and how Port Arthur was booming. And we had 3 high schools and we had, I don't know if anybody remember Blackie's on Houston Avenue.
Right, yeah, I remember Blackie's.
Or the meat market on Gillum Circle. Well, we had a lot of things in our community. Myers Automotive on Houston Avenue. We had a lot of things, a lot of resources. We had Transit Mix was on Austin Avenue. And I started looking at what has transpired over the last 35 years. And with the consolidation of a high school, the relocation of our people out toward 365. We put some band-aids on some situations. We haven't done what we ought to do for the people and the citizens. And one of our issues is employment. And I'm kind of steering back to this because we're gonna go back to representation.
Okay. I was about to say okay.
Because I want you just to feel this because there's some compassion. There's some passion in what I'm saying,
right,
and the concern to take away our representation as we know it. Going back to Carvateris, you and I probably have had this discussion. They could have relocated themselves if they were given a job. They were living right next door to three of the major industrial refineries we have in our community.
Right.
So moving them, it didn't help them because they still don't have the resources that we need in this community. So it's a culmination of a lot of things. But going back to the meeting that was held and the conversation that was brought to our attention, the commissioner had the power to make the decision. He didn't have to come and inform us, but he did, and I was appreciative to that. But the fact still remains, why did he come?
Okay, which commission are you talking about? Mr. Shane Senegal?
Yes, Commissioner Senegal.
Okay.
And again, I want to say, I appreciate his effort,
Right, yes,
and keeping us informed. But the right thing to do was to make sure that there's somebody in that seat. That should be without question.
Right.
Whether or not it was a slug at the county judge and maybe he backed off, I don't know. Maybe he backed off once he realized he was going to have an opponent and this was going to have some adverse effect. Right. But sitting there, what I'm hearing is a conversation about what it would look like if we did not have these offices. What would this city look like? So when I start that approach and I start looking at it, I had to go look for the numbers. I had to say, well, if they're gonna do that, how are they gonna justify doing that?
Right.
And a case can easily be made with the numbers. Now, when we look at this particular precinct, this is the larger of the two precincts. So if they adjust the precincts, redraw the lines or what have you, however they decide to do it, if they're going to do it, maybe that's part of has already been done. I don't know how that's really going to make much of a difference if these offices are not being productive.
Talking about the JPs, right? The JP office?
Right, the JP office. If the JP office is creating a deficit, see, there's a lot of people that depend on this. The constable office depends on the court to provide them with the revenue. Everything works together.
Okay, so let me go ahead and stop you right there and interject a minute. So let me get this straight. So basically, what you're saying that when you started, when you're talking about the Eddie Collins position, right? So you basically saying the reason why you tied it into the JP position, because the reason how they can get rid of positions like Mr. Eddie Collins' former position and the JP position is with the numbers, right? If the numbers are all off, they can justify cutting that position and creating a savings. Is that kind of what you're going at?
That's kind of what would happen. Now, I don't know when it's going to happen, but to have that conversation or to be a part of that conversation, they've been thinking along these lines for a very long time.
Right.
So when I look at this position and I look at what this office has done over the last 11 years, I mean, I was blown away with what I found. It appears by the number that they were trying to run it in the ground because it created a deficit. This office itself has created over the last 11 years $1 million deficit, and it's actually $1,082,000 deficit, and the numbers haven't completely come in yet. I just probably need to go and get the completed numbers but that's as of 11/29 of 2021, the numbers that I'm speaking of. Now, I want you to pay attention very closely to this. The numbers have declined consistently. It never came back up. I just want to make sure you know.
Okay, which numbers you talking about?
The JP numbers, the revenue numbers.
Okay, revenue. Okay, the income.
Revenue numbers, the income numbers have shown to decline over the last 11 years. There's been no spike to come back up, So that would suggest to me that there's nothing being done to address that,
okay.
Right?
Okay, and for the people that don't know, how does the JP office creates money? How does it work for people that don't understand?
Well, this court handles tenant and landlord disputes. So filings, the more you file in the court, that's how they generate income. Now, The other way is through citations that are filed. In this case, those citations that are not being filed, and they're being filed somewhere else. Now, what the reason is, and we're going to get into that a little bit too, and look at the significant difference in this precinct and our neighboring precinct out by the airport.
Okay, and for clarity, when you say tickets filed, are you talking about the local PD filing at the JP?
The local PD file there is with the municipal court. Okay. We're talking about the county and the state.
Okay.
You know, because we've had some
the sheriff, right? Sheriff department.
We're talking about the sheriff department, okay, and highway patrol.
Right, the Texas State Troopers. Okay.
Yeah. So I don't know if anybody has ever gotten a ticket, but just think about where you went to get that ticket settled at. Think about where you were written a ticket at and what court you had to go to. So that's going to build this case that we're talking about how representation becomes our most important aspect in this. The numbers suggested that we could potentially lose representation in this city if nothing is ever done to address the deficit.
Okay,
because
so
those are the numbers. Go ahead.
Okay, so for clarity, right? The people that's doing a citation, they can take tickets anywhere they want to. They don't have to take it in Port Arthur or Precinct 2 or Precinct 8?
Well, if I was an officer, I would take it to the precinct that I wrote it in. Now, I don't know what the relationships are, but the tickets that are written in our area, I can only, based on the numbers, I can only arrive at a point where it would suggest that they're being filed in Precinct 7, which is at the airport, Brad Burnett's office, Judge Burnett's office. So when you look at that data, when you look at that office outperforming this office anywhere from 3-to-1 to 5-to-1, that means he's generating 3 to 5 times the revenue with the same overhead. Now,
wow.
If I was a businessman and I was running a business and I was going to evaluate where I need to make some changes, this is where I would start. Now, over the last 11 years, this issue has not been addressed.
Okay, so when you're saying when you're a businessman and this is the issue where you would start, are you talking about the numbers, right? Are you talking about what's?
Oh, absolutely. We have to become fiscally responsible. There's always got to be a balanced budget. You know, you have a responsibility to the taxpayer to make sure that you're running the office as effectively and as efficiently as you possibly can. Those are the issues. See, it doesn't matter that you show up every day and you got a smile on your face and you don't ruffle no feathers. We need somebody that's going to fight for our representation in our city, and we can't afford to lose. Who wins when our representation is gone?
Okay, and
the area that prominently is called Mid-County, which is Precinct 7.
Okay, hold on for a second. Let me go ahead and kind of interject on that. And I'm glad that you said that we need to have a balanced budget, right? Because a lot of people do not understand how important that a budget is when you're dealing with city business, city politics, county business, and county politics. Because in truth, it's all about the money. Everything is about the money, and the money controls how the city flow, how the county flow, and how it functions, right? And also, just like anything else, hey, when you're having a deficit in one area, you have to try to fix that deficit. So, you know, I just want people to understand how important it is to understand that how important money is that's involved in city politics and city government, and including county politics and county government. I'm sorry to cut you off. Go ahead, sir.
No. I mean, you're making some good points, and it's very important. See, there's more to it than just showing up and conducting or operating or facilitating what goes on inside of the courtroom, right? You have employees in there that you're responsible for, right? So when you have those type of responsibilities, the light bill, all that is part of your your expenditure. That's part of your budget. See, they have a budget meeting every year and have a discussion about the budget. Now, my concern is this. Now, I want you to hear me when I say this, David.
Oh, yes, sir. All ears.
If they are having this budget meeting every year, somebody had to approve it, right?
Right.
So somebody would have to say, okay, well, we're just gonna roll with it like this, and that's okay. We because it's a county, it's a county coffer, so we're gonna we'll take it how we can get it, and it's okay if one office is better than the other. But guess what? That's a double-edged sword, David.
Right.
Because the same numbers that I'm talking about, that's going to be what they use to justify eliminating representation.
Okay.
See, if they it's not about your behavior, because obviously if your behavior is unbecoming of a JP, they would have made some changes a long time ago. So it's not about your behavior. It's not about how you conduct business or anything like that. When they start talking about making some changes, it's going to be about the dollar.
Okay.
And that's how they're going to use it.
Okay, so let me go ahead and interject right there. So, just to kind of recap for a minute for the citizens and the people that's listening, right? So, just like any type of business, right? Just like any type of organization that deals with money and deals with profit and losses, whenever you have something that's losing money, right? Say it's the JP department. What you said, I believe you said we've been losing money for the past 10 or 11 years, right? We've been a deficit to the point where we was like over $1 million something, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and with that being said, now we do know that they have a lot of racial issues in this county, in this county, include both cities, everything within the county. And what we've noticed that there's a lot of gentrification going on in Port Arthur. There's a lot of siphoning of the jobs and the money out of Port Arthur to go to Mid-County. And also it's including like some of the contracts that I believe is happening in the city. And with all of this being said, whenever they want to cut some of the jobs, right, to save money, they're not going to cut jobs in Mid-City. They're going to most likely cut jobs in Port Arthur. And with that being said, and when you have a JP position, right, justice of the peace position that has a high deficit as the precinct that you're running for has, and that puts us in the danger of also losing that, right?
Correct. Okay. Now, the timing on when they're going to make that decision, how they're going to make that decision, it could come when Judge Gillum decides he wants to retire. That's going to be an opportunity. The other opportunity is if there's a Republican in the county judge seat, that's because he's going to go back on what he already started, with the conversation he already started having, if we allow him to hold that seat. Right. We got to get out and vote, not just in this election. And I want the citizens of Port Arthur to know, Joe Guillory is wanting to help secure the future of this city. It's not about him, it's about the city. It's not about my opponent, it's about the job that is available, that every citizen in Port Arthur has a right to participate in the process. You have a right to file, you have a right to, and you shouldn't have to go anywhere and ask anybody for permission to serve your city. If you can be of value, then you should step up and do your part. Because anybody could be a Monday morning armchair quarterback. Anybody can sit up there and point out problems, but you need to come up with some solutions. And the solution in this case is, number one, we have to cut our ties with special interest groups. We have to send a message in this election. And we'll get back to the numbers here just a second, but I just want to make sure that people understand the passion and the commitment. I didn't just wake up at Motel 6 and decide I want to be JP. No, this has been a long thought out, prayed process. And it was a blessing. Again, I say that again. It was a blessing that I didn't win.
Right.
Because I
Yeah.
knew God, and I didn't question it. I was cool because I knew God had something greater. I didn't know that it was in this magnitude uh, here in Precinct 2. Because Precinct 2 is the majority of the city, right? It'll be the last one to go. But now it's still on the hook. Because when you look at representation, we don't want to lose either court. And
Right.
we don't want, and when we start talking about what we're losing, and we talk about representation, we're not talking about black or white or economics. We're talking about losing something as a city to a neighboring city. Now, how would it be for us to lose one office or both offices in the city of Port Arthur and allow the control to end up in Midland?
Okay, hold that point right quick. Hold that point. Let me kind of interject something on what you said previously. Now, I want to go ahead and interject on this when you said that probably the seats may lose, right? Or we may lose representation whenever people like Mr. Guillory retired. And I just want to talk to that effect, right? I know that happens a lot, right? And that'll most likely happen when you have people like the current person in District 2, Mr. DeRuin, that he's tied with special interest groups, like former Senator Carl Parker, right? And since he has a good relationship with them, and even to the fact that some people may say it is a godson, because you see a lot of pictures with him and his son, Alan Parker, and also that you see pictures with them, and that if I'm not mistaken, he used to work with the Parker firm as an attorney. So they have a lot of good connection over there. And
He was never, let's correct that. He was never an attorney. He was an investigator.
No, that's what I said. Yeah, he was an investigator for the Parker firm. Yeah.
Let's make sure that everybody knows that he's not a lawyer.
That's what I thought I said. I thought I said an investigator for the Parker law firm.
Yeah,
that's what I thought I said. Okay, if I said something, I meant investigator, a private investigator for the Parker law firm. So if I said something different, that's not it. But so a lot of times
when you talk about the special interest group and the fact that they're so connected, and the people are going to receive for the very first time some phone calls. It should be some disturbing phone calls asking you to support my opponent, who you may not even know. If you had to do a lineup, David, let me ask you that question. If we had to do a lineup today, how many of our citizens would even recognize our Justice of the Peace Precinct 2? Now, I want you to think about that because it's in 11 years. A good friend of mine said, I've been here actively participating in my community, and I don't really know who that is. Right. I've never had a cup of coffee with him, anything like that. So what does that suggest to the citizens of Port Arthur? When we look at these numbers, and we want to get. And I don't know how much more time we have, but
we got enough time. We have at least an hour. We have at least an hour if you need it.
When we look at the connectivity between this office and the city, there's a large disparity there. There's no relationship. And so myself, as I stated before, Port Arthur has been my home. I've went out in corporate America, spent about 15 years away, and I've come back to Port Arthur, and it was nothing like I left it, okay? I have family here. My roots are here. So when the citizens of Port Arthur start evaluating who they should vote for, they should think about some things that, and this goes on the line of making decisions. When you make a decision to be oblivious to the numbers, okay, to the deficit, to the budget, is it because you don't have any true connection? Because if you were here, if you were a native Port Arthur, and if you had the roots here, your commitment to this city would be greater. This is what I stress to my board members at Port Arthur Independent School District. We need to have more teachers, administrators, and people alike in our community that lives in our community. Why? Because when you have a vested interest in this community, you're going to make better decisions because you want to see your community do better. You don't want to see the poverty-stricken areas that we have in Port Arthur. You don't want to drive around Port Arthur. And then, of course, when you do make it and when you do have a little privilege, you don't want to close your eyes, well, that's not my problem anymore because it doesn't affect me. No, this is one city and it belongs to every citizen that has an address here. And we all should have pride in where we live. And that's what we're missing. That's what we're missing. That's why it's so easy for these numbers to be so elevated, to create such a large deficit. And I read somewhere where it said that I've served 11 years without any controversy.
When you're saying you talking about who you talking about when you say I have? Okay.
Well, I just read that somewhere.
Okay.
And what I'm suggesting to the people, I don't want that representation. I want somebody who is controversial, who can get in there and fight for me. See, when you say that you haven't had any controversy, and then when I look at the numbers suggest the same thing, that you were aware and you did nothing about them. There was no plan put in place. We haven't heard it. Even after this recording, even after this session with you, David, and this gets back to my opponent.
Right.
And when the people hear this for the first time, they're going to hear him start speaking on what I'm already talking about. Why wasn't this issue 4 years ago, or 8 years ago, or even 11 years ago when he took office? I want to make sure that I maintain a fiscal responsibility in his office because it wasn't a concern. Why? Because he doesn't have any roots here. His commitment is not Port Arthur.
Okay.
And it shows. So when I say this, when I say that they're going to receive some phone calls from other elected officials who we have entrusted. We've entrusted these elected officials to do their job. So when you receive a phone call asking you to support somebody that you don't even know, you ought to just push pause. Because why now? Why after 11 years? Why don't I know him? Why don't I see some of the things that he's done? Now,
okay, Mr. Let me go ahead and inject with that. Have you received any calls to not run in the race or anything like that? Have you seen any kind of calls about running?
Yes, I didn't really want to talk about that, but
well, you don't have to say the person's name. I would just ask him.
Well, look, let me tell you like this. The reason why he hadn't had any opponents is because of the intimidation factor. Anybody that would have ever had the courage to stand up and get into the race, they would get all forms of intimidation, I should say it that way. Phone calls or what have you, and they would go as far as call my dad. Now take this out. Call my dad, my friend. Call my dad and suggested, well, I need you to talk to your son because he's running against a good man. Now, this is my father. Now, as a father, how would you think he would take something like that? This is my son you're talking about. Right. Is he not a good man?
Yeah, absolutely.
So when you say something like that, is it suggesting to my wife and my children that I'm not a good husband, a good provider, a good protector, a good role model for my family? I'm not a good man? So when you throw stuff out like that, when you have the audacity to make those kind of intimidating phone calls, I'm like, man, hey, he just hung the phone up. Which was the right thing. He didn't lose his composure or anything like that, because I know I would have, because you talk about my child.
Right. Now let me go ahead and interject on something that have happened to me, right? Several years ago, right, early in my political, enlightening and trying to be revolutionary, right, with the city politics, I'd always ask why Judge Gillum have a person here running against some person there, two people here. Seem like every other, if not every election, every other election, he already has somebody running against him. And I was wondering why in the heck, Mark DeRuin doesn't have anybody running against him. I'm like, what's going on? And I posed that question on Facebook several years ago, right? I got a call from a constable. And I got a call from another local, business owner, right, that has that used to have a business off of Guffway. So And I was like, and they said, hey, man, he's a real good guy. So at that time, I didn't really say nothing, but I may have even took the post down. But now they're okay. They kind of called. They're vouch for him. But now in retrospect, I kind of understand that all of this is a network system, right? You have the status quo. They'll get a lot of people, and now since I know that he's tightly connected to former Senator Parker, right? Carl Parker, Parker Law Firm. That's the main reason why he was able to kind of stay in there, because you have a lot of older people that, in my opinion, a lot of older people that's fearful of him or don't want to run against him, because you have a lot of youthful people don't really know, the Parker Law Firm, like they call Parker, whatever. A lot of people don't really, know him. The new ones, the young ones, they don't really know him. They only know him through, other folks. So I can kind of attest now in retrospect, that's the reason why that nobody has ran against him. And it's kind of sad that you have a black town that we only running against the black, the Guillory, the black person that's the JP, instead of running at both of them. I would say, be equal, run both of them, whether they're, black or white or anything, but just don't show some type of bias to it. But that's the perceived power that network source to have, right? So I just wanted to interject that part in there. You can go back here, sir.
Well, and I hope that the citizens of Port Arthur recognize some of the buffoonery and the tactics, and don't fall prey to it themselves when they receive these phone calls asking for some support that is not rightly deserved. There's no indication that the job that has been done is satisfactory. I don't know how you can justify rating one part of the job and not rating the other part. I mean, it's one job. Fiscal responsibility and operation, that's hand in hand. You can't have one without the other. And you can't hold them accountable for one area and then don't hold them accountable for another area. That makes sense. So when we look at these things and we look at the intimidation factors, and then we look at the individuals that are out there talking about I'm team so and so and I'm team this, it's misleading and personally, it's probably ethically wrong by the state of Texas that they do this, because they're using their elected prestige to influence the vote, which is another form of voter suppression. So I just want to drop that out there, because I want the people to know when you have this type of corruption, and I call it that because that's what it is. It's an intent to deceive the people, to deprive the people of their vote, to say, well, look, your vote don't matter even if you do vote, because we got enough people here supporting that he's going to win anyway. I beg to differ. We got 36,000 registered voters in this precinct, and I hope that they come out and participate, and whatever they decide, it's okay with me. Because it's not about me, it's about them and the city. It's about making sure that our children have a city to call home. That we don't lose our identity. We've already lost our identity as a high school. They took our spirit, they took our pride. Whether you were a bumblebee or a yellow jacket or eagle, they took our pride. And it's crazy that when you start looking at all the moves that have been made, all the people that were part of this plan, this plan to get the resources from Port Arthur and to utilize these resources for their personal gain, and it only opens the door for the 5% of the people, which is represented by the special interest group, and the other 95% of the people are starving and can't even afford to buy a can of paint to put on their house. And you telling me that we have fair representation here in this city? I beg to differ, sir. This election is so important that we need to incite every voter, not only in this election, but to take the same emphasis when they get ready to vote for those that are going to represent the city as the mayor and as a city council. We need to start vetting the people that's going to represent them. We got to make sure, and we need to start looking at the financial report as well, so we can see who they're connected to. because you'll be surprised who's taking this money.
Right. And then local.
Look at what recently happened. I just want to share this here because I'm gonna get off my.
Yeah, go ahead.
When this council was elected, one of the first things this particular council did was go after the EDC.
Ooh.
Now I want to show the citizens of Port Arthur the trickery. A personal friend of mine who I love to death, I served with him on the EDC. Mr. Baptiste, I thought he'd done a great job. Some people may have their own opinion, but when he ran that, he did things for us the right way. And I just want to put that out there, that it's unfortunate because of the special interest group that were going after the money, the power, and it's all about the money. You've been on a lot of things, David, and it's always, you follow the money, you'll find the motive.
Oh yeah. You used to have a hashtag, follow the money.
You follow the money. Where there's smoke, there's fire. So when we start, and then when you have somebody that you appoint to the EDC that's not even a resident of Port Arthur, so you already intended to defraud the people. Can you see the intent? So in this election that I'm in right now, this be the only one for Port Arthur, for the citizens of Port Arthur. I don't know of any other seat other than the constable race in 8. I don't know of any other seat that people gonna have an opportunity to participate in this election. But these things ought to give the citizens of Port Arthur, ought to make their hair stand up on the back of their neck, Dave, knowing that these individuals are conspiring to take the resources out of the hands of the citizens of Port Arthur and maneuver it in such a way where those that will benefit will be closer to what they call mid-county. It bothers me every time they use that word mid-county.
Oh yeah, it bothers me too.
Let's put it like that, needling. So the end game, and I see it, I'm looking at the numbers. The end game, that's what the end game suggests. The numbers suggest as long as you continue to starve everything south of 73, you kill it by taking the resources out of the community. Then once you take the resources, you strip them of whatever they have left of pride, and then they're either going to give up, sell, or move away. Think about it, y'all. You better hold on to your property and start participating in these elections and getting your voice heard, so that you don't fall prey to what these people are trying to do to this city. It's not about you. Anytime an individual say that I'm in this thing and I was hoping that you wouldn't run because I would like to, I was hoping to get 2 more terms out of this for my retirement, then it's not about the people anymore. It's about the retirement.
Right, yeah.
It's about his family. And I find that adamantly wrong that we continue to allow. That's why we ought to have term limits on these seats.
Oh.
This will solve a lot of issues for us. We start having term limits, because that way nobody would ever be comfortable to the point where they feel like they're entitled to this seat or these seats.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Get in there, be effective, do it for the right reason, and get out. Make way for somebody else to come in and hold them accountable, that they will follow and do what's right for the people. Get them in, get them out. We need to do a better. It has to be a way for us to address all these issues. And the very first way is that we have to start participating in voting. It's so important that we vote, and our vote is our voice. And if we don't vote, then we're being complicit to the shenanigans that are going on in the city. That means complicit. That means you're okay with it. You're going along with it. In fact, by you being silent suggests that you agree with what they're doing. And at the end, you don't even benefit one bit.
Yeah.
These resources that we're talking about, they're not ending up in your bank account. Right now, look at what I'm thinking is going to happen with this new expansion out there, or this new company that done popped up. The city got some contracts that are going to be coming, and so the money, ideally they're going to try to get that, and then I don't know what kind of service, what kind of job is going to be done out of it, but
Yeah.
That's my soapbox, David. But let's get back to this campaign. Let's get back to the issues that we're talking about.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
We're talking about,
I just want to kind of hold on for a second. Your phone kind of getting muffled, and I just want to kind of jump in there for a second. Right, I just want to say that I do agree with you saying about that's kind of the whole plan, because they were talking about this doing the census, right? They were hoping that the census dropped below 50,000, so they can pull some of the resources, the money that Port Arthur receives from the federal or state government, right? I can't remember which one. I want to say probably the federal government, where and then Port Arthur would kind of be reduced to a township, to a town, and where that they would put kind of like needling like the overseer on that. And after I speak, I want you to kind of speak something on that, because that's where you were going at one time. How can a city like Needland kind of be an overseer of Port Arthur? But if y'all know Miss Stella Morrison, right, she can give you a good breakdown of all that. She's a good historian, good person. I remember she was telling me like that about a few years ago before this thing. Now, go ahead and give us what you was about to say about how can this happen to Port Arthur.
Well, I can't really speak to that directly, but this is what I would say.
Right, the county.
As far as the JP is concerned, the numbers are going to be used to justify it. So right now, I don't think we're in any danger right now, because the city council, I guess the census that was generated came back at somewhere around 57,000 or something like that. I don't know if that's a real number or not.
Right.
Somebody counted it. It wasn't from Port Arthur, so I would have to just trust that those numbers are legit.
And they're whole.
So, but the idea behind the city becoming a town, I don't know exactly what services or what benefits or resources that we would lose from the state or from the federal government. But whatever it is, we can't afford to lose, because this city is already in despair. The city is already plagued with unemployment, plagued with the poverty-stricken level. I mean, it's sad. It's sad that we continue to overlook. And I'm going to interject this, and I'm gonna kind of move back into what we were talking about.
Right,
I went to our representation. I talked to several city council members and the mayor particularly, and a few other folks. But this is what I want to say. When I talked to our state representative, he listened. He looked into it. And he got a conversation started. And the issue was that the local people the local business owners were not being included in the process in these local projects. And, they create such red tape, make it that hard. I mean, I don't understand why they do it that way. But no one from the city could help me. Now, understand this. The city has control over whether or not they're going to give an abatement or not give an abatement, and whether they're going to incentivize them to hire local. So there's so many variables there. We need folks that will keep it 100 with us. This thing that they say, well, they don't have anybody in Port Arthur that can pass a drug test. Well, let me tell you something. I probably got the cleanest background that any one individual could possibly have. Every credential given by the federal government, I got in my pocket. And I had an interview with Valero, and I didn't get the job, which was a blessing on my part, because but I went after it because I wanted to see if it was true. But now maybe if my address would have been Houston or something like that, or Lake Charles, maybe I would have got it out on Port Neches or something like that.
Needland, Groves.
But to suggest that we don't have anybody qualified. I'm more than qualified to read a computer and adjust valves and diagnose problems. I mean, I've been doing that my whole life, Dave.
Oh, absolutely. They have a lot of people with process tech degrees that got passed over there. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
You know, I'm a diesel mechanic. You know, there's nothing on my truck I can't fix. I've been doing this since I was a kid, and I want to go back, you know, to the characterization of myself. I put a post out today. 35 years of leadership proven. Now, this is not something that Joe Guillory said about Joe Guillory. Right. This is something that others said, and it's important when others speak of you. You know, we should never think more highly than ourselves than the next man does. You know, we shouldn't be patting ourselves on the back. You know, when you start seeing people posting this scholarship, that scholarship, and hey, we're doing this over here, man, that's flesh. It should always be about the work. It should always be about the people. And let your work speak for itself. I don't need anybody to stand to support me or to come out and say what a great guy I am and this. Let my record stand for who I am and what I stand for. When on the school board, when I make a decision, it's my decision. It's not influenced by any other board member. When I raise a question, it's my question. When my concerns, it's my concerns. Now, whether those things are taken seriously enough and addressed, now that's a horse of a different color. I brought up a lot of issues. We made a lot of progress. We still have a long way to go, but I was one of the first advocate to start incentivizing the teachers so they start receiving a stipend and then a wage increase. And all that started when I got on the board back in 2015. I'm about rewarding those that are doing the work. That's important. When I say I've been a leader for 35 years, that's what they said about Joe Guillory. Coach Washington said, oh, Guillory is a great little leader. Now, what does that imply to you? Is that he put in the work. His work shows, not his mouth. I don't do a very good job of talking up myself. You know, that's never been my forte to glamorize who I am or build myself, puff myself up, because that's fake and phony. I am who I am. I'm a man of God. I'm disciplined. I'm committed. I'm capable of doing this job with my eyes closed. That's how confident I am. But the fight, you have to have a fighter. You have to have somebody willing to fight for what's right. And that's who I am. That's what I stand for. The voice for the people, the same commitment I had when I ran for the school board. Voice for the students, voice for the teachers. So what does that say? I advocate for the ones that really don't have a voice. That's my commitment. That's my commitment in this election as well. To be a voice for the people, to be an ambassador to this city. That's important to me.
Right. And tell some of the audience, tell some of the listeners, right, what are some of the things that you're going to do to go ahead and change this deficit or try to work on and try to get this negative into a positive?
Well, of course, it's work. It took years to get into this situation, but the plan is simple. The plan is simple. The very first thing we have to do is get in there and evaluate what is already going on. Look at all our expenditures. And then the second thing you have to start looking at is where the opportunity lies. And the opportunity lies in creating a situation where it makes the law enforcement agency more productive by making it easy for them to come and file and know and have the confidence. See, the issue we have here is the confidence that whatever they file will be taken care of, just like it will be taken care of in Judge Barnett's courtroom. That's the confidence that we have to instill and to deliver to law enforcement, whether it be on a state level or whether it's on the county level, that whatever you put put or present before us, we are going to handle it according to the law. And what happened, and I understand, and this may just be a rumor, but of course there were some folks that had the position years ago and was misusing it, and the state and the county decided, you know what, we're doing too much work out here, and we're not seeing the residuals. So they just start filing over here in precinct 7. So relationship is part of the plan, building that relationship, building that confidence back up, and doing what we say we're going to do. Treat everyone that comes through there fair and equitable, whether it be the citizen or whether it's law enforcement. All we want to do is do what is right for the city of Port Arthur, for the citizens of Port Arthur, and for the folks of this county and for the folks in this state. That's what's most important for me. And that's how we're going to turn that thing around.
Okay. That sounds good. Now, with this deficit, right? I remember you said that the current JP and Mr. Mark Duran might try to get on the phone. Well, some people are going to get on the phone and talk to them and try to discuss it. But to me, in my opinion, I don't see anything that you can say or try to do now if within the last 10 years there hasn't been a plan or none of this has been addressed, because I don't remember hearing this out in the media or whatnot, or on anything about turning this around. I didn't even know that this was a problem. So it'll be hard for me to see in any kind of in any interesting comment that he may have toward this. I'd love to hear it. I'd love to hear what kind of what would he would have to say about this, because it's hard to say if it's been going on for 10 years, and like you say, they have a budget every year, they know about the losses, and it's no action plan to go ahead and take it over. It's hard for me to see how he could try to come up with the answer right now, but hey, never know, we may hear something sometime.
So let me share some more things with you, David.
Go ahead. Yes, sir.
These numbers are astronomical.
Oh, yes, I believe they are too.
Precinct 7 has generated $1.8 million in profit.
Think some of that's coming from us?
Absolutely. Think about it. Look now. When you add the negative and you add the positive, you come up with somewhere right at about 2.85 difference. That's $2.8 million difference between what is being done. That's how much better, or I should say, how much more revenue is being generated over here than in precinct 7 versus that in precinct 2. So with this being, all of them go to the same meeting, all of them basically in the same club. I don't know if this was just part of the plan. So when we start looking at things like this, you start asking, well, did he know? Well, I just answered that for you. Of course he knew. They do a budget every year. The next question, David, is did he care? Obviously not, because we haven't seen any plans that would suggest that there's something turning around. No, the numbers don't suggest that. So the third one is, did he know, and was he just complicit? That means did he already know what the end game was? And what this may be the reason why all the elected officials have decided to come out on his behalf, because now they say, well, Mr. Guillory is more than aware of what's going on, and maybe it may put a monkey wrench in their plan. Well, I hope it does.
Right.
Because the citizens of Port Arthur do not benefit from this whatsoever, even though we may not benefit from the dollars that are generated, but these are still your tax dollars being spent. And the fiscal irresponsibility exists. These are the facts. This is nothing that I concocted. This came from the county auditor's office, and any citizen in this county go down there and ask for the same thing. Okay,
hold on. I want to hit on that subject what you just said. Now, people may understand. Hey, this is the county. Why does this matter if they go to Beaumont, Needland, Port Arthur, it's all going to one county. But when you said even though it's not, it's our tax dollars and it's going to the county, but by it not going to the Port Arthur courts, is showing that, hey, Port Arthur don't need this representation, and that the Needland courts can go ahead and handle this, or the courts by the airport can go ahead and handle the Port Arthur stuff, the Port Arthur business, so we can go ahead and just cancel the Port Arthur offices at all, right? Does that kind of make sense?
Man, that makes so much sense, man. I mean, a little kid can figure this one out, but this stuff is being hid from the citizens of Port Arthur, and hopefully this broadcast and today's meet and greet, we'll be able to share more of the same thing so that we can build some awareness, and when we can address some of the cornerstones in our plan and present those cornerstones. One, representation; two, fiscal responsibility; and third, save the taxpayers' money. And that happens in several different ways. One, makes it convenient if and when you have to come to court, it's local. It also increases the productivity of law enforcement, allows them to get back on their beat. And then thirdly, it increases the revenue, which allows us to continue to pay the salaries and expenditures, and then we can justify. So it's a win-win with the plan in place that once I take office, we can address these issues. Now, it's work just like anything else. Is going to be work, because anytime you have to build a relationship, especially when you have so many people at odds with you just because you are running, and I'm cool with that. And I want to tell you, David, that I'm proud to do whatever I can for this city, even if it requires me to stand alone for what is right. I've done it in the past. I've proven that. Even when the superintendent came out in the newspaper, adamantly opposing one of his bosses, and he comes out to Guillory got it wrong. This is a Title I program. Well, but David, I can assure you what I was suggesting and what I was presenting and what I was asking them to correct. If it would have been a Title I program, I would have never even brought it to their attention. So when we got situations like that, we start talking about the relationships and who has relationships. You think about those that are members of the Rotary clubs and these other private clubs. Right now, I'm sure my opponent is probably over at the Pompano Club having his meet and greet or what have you.
Right.
You see, that's what the rich people do. That's where they hang out. But I just want the people to know the passion and the commitment that I have for doing a good job, better than what you're getting now, because I know what the problems are. I'm a landlord, right? I've been a tenant. I completely understand that relationship. That's predominantly what this court, every JP court, not just this one, every JP court, that's the one thing. If you have an issue, this is where you file that complaint, in this court. And so we know that that's going to be a large part of what we do, but that's not all that we're going to do in this courtroom. We're going to handle Class C misdemeanors. Those are citations that are enforceable by fine only. So when we start looking at the duties and the responsibilities of the JP, things like hearings, civil cases, dealing with $20,000 limit. It used to be $10,000. The last time I ran it was $10,000. They've increased it now. So that means you can file a civil lawsuit in a JP court up to $20,000. When we start looking at truancy cases, we don't have a whole lot of that because of what the school district has put in place. But you need somebody that's sensitive to the needs of our children. Because I have a relationship of passion, I've worked along with school district since 2015. My kids attend Port Arthur Independent School District, so I have a vested interest here, and I want the people to get that, to understand that. That the commitment, when you have a vested interest in something, you want it to be the very best it could be. And I'll tell you this, I adamantly reject anything that someone says that I could, what I can do or what I can't do, or what I should have or what I shouldn't have. You know, I'm gonna have what I want to have. And I think every citizen in Port Arthur has that same right. You don't need someone telling you what you deserve and what you don't deserve. You put in the work, you should reap the rewards. You know, but when you start looking at these resources and or lack of resources, I should say, south of 73, that's our problem. And then losing representation, you start looking at it, just start compounding, and it's a never-ending cycle. And before you know it, we've become Nederland. We'll have a new name or something. You know, that's scary to think about when you think about the long history of Port Arthur and Steelware and Rose Hill and it's scary to think that we have the people to make the right decisions. We have them in place, and we're not getting any better. It's scary. It's scary that there's somebody sitting on the sideline calling the shots. And then we got those folks. You made a meme. I made a comment the other day when we were talking. We were talking about the movie The Django,
right.
For the life of me, I can't remember the character that Samuel L. Jackson played.
Steven.
But Steven, we got so many Stevens in our community, and we got to stop that, man.
Yeah,
we got to start supporting. Look, we have a restaurant on the west side of Port Arthur, downtown, that serves very good food.
Yeah, very good food. Edith's Place, yeah.
Been around what, 5 years? How long has it been? It's been quite some time.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden we get a brand new spot popped up over here, and the line is around the corner. Now, we have to do a better job of supporting one another. Imagine if we would have supported this business, what they would have been able to do, and give us a larger restaurant in this city. Right. You know, we just don't think about it. And then we could sit back and we complain so much, and because we're looking around and everybody else is making moves and things are happening, and we're standing still.
And I think the problem is with that, right? We have a lot of citizens that are being fooled because the corruption has a network. It's a united corruption network, right? They used to call themselves Unite PA. So so what people have to understand, right? You may have your black constables, your black council members, your black people, church members. They form a bond together and promote the people that'll screw us over, right? They promote these organizations. They promote these, people that's been doing this wrong. They even go so far as to get athletes, to get professional athletes, local professional athletes, to be the face of certain organizations. You know what I mean? So that's how the people may get fooled, right? The athlete may not really understand what he or she's doing, but the people that's under them, they know what they're doing, right? But then the citizens, they'll look at this professional athlete, a professional basketball player, professional football player, and say, hey, well, they must be good if he's with them. I know that young guy and this family, he's a good family, so if he's the face and he's with them, they must be good. So it's a lot of sanitation being done, right, by other people with supposedly good names. Because a lot of the corrupt people, they have bad names and they attach themselves on the good names to try to erase that. And that's what the citizens need to understand. And this couldn't be done more so with the pastors. That's usually the old generation has done. They've started with the pastors back with Ransom Howard or whatnot. And, it's kind of going on through there. But a lot of people went away from looking at church officials as leaders because you had so many pastors over here, not only cheated on their spouses. They've had a downward spiral, and a lot of people have left their organization. So the church isn't really as strong as what it was. You know, people cheating on their wives, divorcing. Yeah, I mean, it's.
Let's get off of that.
I'm just saying. You know, I'm just saying. I'm just kind of give a history of the stuff so people can understand where all this corruption come from. Back when MLK was doing it, right? That's when the churches meant something, right? That's when a lot of the leadership they was actually fighting for civil rights. But now the churches have been infiltrated. Well, recently the churches have been infiltrated where they can't do it. They're not as effective as they were before, and a lot of people have seen that. So
let me interject something there, David, so that we don't go down the rabbit hole on that. As a minister of the gospel, we're still men. We still have faults. We still have issues. We're not perfect. It's sad that some folks have not represented God's word the way they should, but that's not our job to judge them. That is something that they're gonna meet their fate. They're gonna have to see God for themselves, and that'll be taken care of. That's not our battle. Our battle is to be the best that we can be, and to serve citizens of Port Arthur. Can you hold 1 second?
Yes, go ahead. Now, people, while he's on hold, I'm going to go ahead and state my opinion on that, right? Now, the reason why I'm saying that, talking about the pastors, because the pastors are in politics, right? You have pastors that are in these political circles. Now, once they're in these political circles, it's fair game, because you have. Go ahead. What'd you say?
I agree. I mean,
okay, yeah. When you went on hold, I was trying to give, sort of dead air wouldn't be here. I was trying to give my personal opinion to everybody. But yeah, like I was saying, like once these pastors get into the political arena, then everything is fair game, because they're stepping into it. I'm not really talking about just the pastors that has nothing to do with politics, like a lot of Catholic pastors, right? They don't even have nothing to do within politics. But since it's historically, since MLK was fighting for the civil rights, it's been, pastors has been historically in politics. But now, it's had a change.
If you go back, so just so that we be clear on this, and we got to take away what we see today and what it was designed and what it was meant to be. It was a way for us to disseminate information, because that's all we had was the church.
Oh yeah, right, yeah.
We didn't have, we only had one another, and and if you go any further back, I mean, the communications, how the Indians communicated, by the sound of a drum, and then of course we had our way of communicating, and so the church was the means of communicating, was our means of communicating. Now, and I don't want to get that confused what we're trying to say or do here. So, what it was designed to do and what folks have, let's not really entertain that as much, because the people, the body of Christ, is the church. The one man that stands in that pulpit, he's just a man. He's just a man. The people have to make a conscious decision to follow the word of God, regardless of what you see. You have to read the word for yourself. I don't want to really get too deep off into that aspect of it, but I don't want to be a part of abusing or beating up on this issue, because I don't think that we're going to be able to do it justice. So let's just stick to the politics. Let's just stick to this campaign and the agenda that we are after.
But I had to say that because it's important, because that's how the citizens are being fooled. Now, once these pastors jump into the political arena, right? Just like I said, they use that. They use their church organization. They use their influence. They
And not
bring
all
all
of
of
them.
that. Well,
Let's be clear. Not
in
all of them.
well, of course, not all of them, but a lot of them they do. They have your pastors group that speak on political issues. They have a political pastors group in Port Arthur. I mean, that's just what it is, you know. So and that's what when they merge their faith in government, you know, that's on them. It's not on me for talking about it because they're
We want
using
to make sure that we fight those that are willing to fight for what's right for the people.
Right, yeah. Of course, it's not all pastors, but unfortunately, when pastors jump into this arena, they open themselves up for that. Like I'll tell you like this, like it's on tape, right? Like you have one pastor named Donald Franklin. I'm only speaking to him because I've seen it. This is
let's
on.
not talk. That's gonna take away from what we're trying to do. Let's not talk about that.
Okay.
Can we agree that we can hold that for another time? Because that's not going to facilitate what we're trying to convey to the people. Because they need to have some trust level, and they need to have somebody that's willing to say, David, let's hold that conversation another time. It's important. What you're saying, I'm not negating or dismissing your position. I just don't feel like it supports what we're trying to do here and what we're trying to communicate. Because we can point. I mean, that's enough finger pointing around. We can. It would be all day just having a finger pointing contest, but we have to come up with some solutions. That's what we have to think about.
I mean, right. Hey, I'm gonna go ahead and give up the scene, but I just want to again, with me saying that, right, we have to get a solution. We have to identify the problems, and unfortunately for the citizens, that's one of the problems: the network of corruption, right? Unfortunately, the network of corruption involves pastors, right? Not all of them, but some of them.
Okay.
But that's Now I'm gonna go ahead and digress off of it, but that comes up. Of course, I'm not talking about you, and you're not talking about your pastors. I'm talking about it.
We're talking about a network. Let's just look at it.
As a network. Okay, gotcha.
Let's look at it as a network.
Okay.
There are individuals that are members of different organizations. Okay. I belong to an organization. I know what we stand for. I know what we try to do. There's other people that belong to other organizations, right? They have their core agenda, things that they're committed to doing and seeing and what have you. So there are organizations that some don't necessarily line up with the views of the people. Now, that's a fair way of addressing this, because you have these same individuals that belong to other organizations. So when this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, however many it is, they go from one organization to another organization to another, they're just bringing more of that tainted stuff with them wherever they go. So you can't just say it's one group or it's because they are a pastor. No.
Oh, I never said it was one group. Never said it.
No. What I'm saying, I'm just giving you another perspective.
Yeah. Go ahead.
To address it, it's organizations that don't mean good for the welfare of the people. There are organizations that intend to deceive the people. There are organizations that are designed. There are people right now, 2 or more people can form an organization, and they can be sitting here conspiring right now to do whatever they want to do. I mean, there's Unabombers, there's people that have today is symbolic, Dave. Today is symbolic. Today, we had a year ago, it's an anniversary of the what they call the insurrection, which was the how they took over the state capitol. So when we start talking about issues and problems in America, not just in our community, because we only make up a dot compared to other issues that exist, right?
Right.
So what we want to do is we want to always have a solution. It's good to point out, like what we're doing here today, point out opportunity to make a change. I think we want to continue to encourage the people that and not be so how I want to say, finger pointing, because all of us have a responsibility. You as well have a responsibility to do the right thing in this community. And I know you see things a lot different than some people. I don't think that you're always totally wrong. I don't think that you're always totally right, because that's where we have to come. That's the point I want to make. I guess I'm trying to bring it full circle. We have to respect one another's view, and you bring so much to the table, and I want to applaud you for having that commitment to be that watchdog, to do the investigative work, to bring some, whether you're right, wrong, or indifferent, it doesn't matter. You're making a contribution to the community, and that's valuable. See, that's priceless. You can't put a price tag on dedication or devotion or commitment, hard work. When you put something in, you hope to get something out of it. You want to see the fruits, and we're going to have a better city. We get more people that are concerned like you're concerned. We're going to get more people. But the first thing that we got to always do is identify the problem, and then come up with a solution, and then execute the plan. It has to be just like that. We can't polarize our problems and think we can wave a magic wand and we're going to erase these things. No, we have to strategically approach these things, and sometimes we have to do things like Nehemiah did. Nehemiah surveyed the land. He had his dream. He knew what he wanted to do. He wanted to go back to his city and rebuild the wall. He sought God out first. God blessed it. God blessed him with favor with the king. The king gave him everything that he needed to go and do the job. And in the process, remember, he was just an individual. But by the time the job got done in 52 days, he had touched thousands of people that put their hand to the work. And that's what we need to motivate our people today, is to put the hand to the plow, to be worthy of the call, to do the work that is necessary in our community to make the change that we desire. It's not hard, but we have to have a plan, and we have to strategically analyze things just like you've been doing, pointing out the facts and asking the questions. We have to be able to do that. But at the same time, we also have to respect the people that we are dealing with, because this is a small town. And we've identified that all of us are related somehow to somebody. And we have to respect that issue too. Now, they got some people that don't respect blood or anything else. They just gonna go out willy-nilly and do their thing. Well, that's okay too. But in order for us to rise to high calling, we have to take the high road. And I think Michelle Obama said it the best. When they go low, we go high. And as long as we are approaching it from that perspective, that we're not, and that's what I keep on stressing this, it's not about my opponent. You won't hear me say anything about him or his character or anything like. We're strictly talking about the work that was done or the lack of work that was done. And that's all we're going to talk about. And how I feel that I'm a better candidate, the only real candidate that with the commitment to make a difference for the citizens of Port Arthur. And in a nutshell, that's it for me. We have to make an effort, each one of us in this city, to come together collectively and say enough is enough. So to address some of the issues that you just identified, whether it be churches, whether it be other organizations, guess what? Your next door neighbor will probably belong to an organization that you probably don't approve of. The only reason you don't know about it, so you can't really object to it because you don't know about it. We have people like that too, that are still in the closet on a lot of issues, and you don't know how they feel on certain things. So in the process, we're going to ruffle some feathers. Some people are going to feel some type of way. I had a conversation with another constituent on yesterday, and they were telling me about a conversation, and this lady was having a problem with me, something that never had anything to do with me, and why she would support me, why she wouldn't support me, and those issues. But she said something about leadership. So when I say leadership in 35 years of proven leadership, I can give you a resume 35 years long that shows everywhere I went, I prospered. Everything I put my hand to prospered. Not because I was great, not because I knew everything, but because I put the work in. Whether it was at Western Auto, for those that remember the times when I worked at Western Auto and I took care of the folks, from that advancement to Ace Hardware, where I spent a good portion of my life as a consultant. That's why these numbers, I recognize numbers because that's what I dealt with, was the numbers. And then being self-employed, everybody can't do what I do, because some people need that security blanket to get up every day, go punch that clock. I'm a different guy. My dad instilled in me as a child the importance of work, importance of standing on your own 2 feet. And today I am so proud of what he instilled in me, because that made me who I am, along with all the other things. Watching my grandfather going to work at Nature's Butane, working for $1.65 an hour, and we're crying about minimum wage today. Minimum wage is way more than my grandfather would have ever seen in 2, 3, 4, 5 months. But he found a way to make it on what he had. And I think we have to continue to fight for equity, fight for equality. But now we have to look at things more like justice. There's a cartoon that talked about equality, and it showed what equity looked like. And it was a fence. It was a solid wood fence. How about we just move the boundaries? We move the thing that is stopping us from all enjoying what we all should, want to, and deserve to enjoy. Let's take those fences down and start building, putting the building blocks together to make this community what it's supposed to be, what it could be, not what the special interest group would have us believe it can't be. It's important that we put in the work.
Cool. Understand that, brother. Understand that very well. So eloquently put. I'm gonna go ahead and give my little piece, and I'm gonna give you the final word, brother. I think you got everything out that you needed to get out, and if you forgot something, there'll be the time to do it. But I just want to say, I think everything sounds good. Everything that sounds good that you have a good plan, in my opinion. We just had a little small disagreement on the way that we battle certain things, but hey, that's just our opinion. We can I can handle it this way and you can handle it my way. And yeah, man, with that being said, go and give us the last word, brother.
But David, I'm Joseph Guillory. I'm running for Justice of the Peace, Precinct 2. And I'm humbly asking for your support and the support of all the citizens in Port Arthur to make this happen. For the citizens of Port Arthur. I just want to stress that it's for the people here of Port Arthur. And that's how important this election is. We have an opportunity to send a clear message that we would no longer accept what the special interest group is offering. We want to break our ties, break our chain. We can free some folks just simply by casting your vote for Joseph Guillory starting on February the 14th. That's early voting. We need to encourage everyone to get out early and vote. We don't want to wait till election day and have election day to decide who's the legitimate representation for this office. I believe I have the only plan. I believe I'm the best candidate for the job, or the only candidate for this job. And I hope that you see it the same way. And David, I want to say thank you for an opportunity to share my perspective. I hope you're able to share this with as many listeners as possible. Maybe you can take it to the radio station. Maybe they'll play it. I know you have relationships there, but we need to get as many people on board that's willing to participate and that would like to see a better Port Arthur. And again, I'm Joseph Guillory, and I approve of everything that I've said today. Thank you for this opportunity, David.
Yes, sir. No problem. Oh, and one more thing I wanted to say, and I just want to extend out if Mr. DeRuin wants to come on the show as it's an open invitation to him. Don't want to make it seem like I'm one-sided on anything. And if there's anything he wants to come over and kind of explain or defend, he can do it anytime that he feels like. And for that, appreciate everybody for listening. Take it easy. Peace.